This video review of this Mooney is probably the most detailed that you're going to find on YouTube. So with this Mooney 201 being for sale, I'm going to go through some specifics of this particular plane, but a lot of what I talk about is going to be relevant to the 201 in general, so really good information. We are going to go and we're going to walk around the outside and we're going to talk a little bit about the overall exterior, the landing gear, engine management, things like that. And we are also going to do a flight portion, so I'm going to be able to show you the takeoff, or, well, we've got to start it first, so both the cold and hot start, and then we're going to do takeoff and the taxiing. We're going to show you in flight some of the characteristics, fuel burn, some of the other things, look at the panel, and then of course we've got to do our descent and landing portion as well. When we were buying this Mooney M20J, we were over 1,000 miles from home down in Texas, and it was getting close to dusk, so we figured we were going to fly a certain distance into the night, stop at a remote strip that we had picked out, and then take off again in the morning and go the rest of the way. Well, when we were checking the weather, the temperature and the dew point were really close to each other, so we knew we were guaranteed to have frost in the morning. Well, what we did when we landed is we ran to the store, picked up a roll of saran wrap, and completely wrapped the plane. And then in the morning, all we had to do was go out really carefully with a razor blade, cut all that saran wrap off, and no frost. We always appreciate if you like our videos and subscribe to our channel. It makes what we do that much more enjoyable. And of course, if you have any comments or suggestions, questions, please put them down below, and we always take time to read them and review and respond to it whoever we can. And of course, this particular plane is going to be for sale, so we're going to have a link to that down in the description below. So if you're interested, you can take a look at that. We've got information, logbooks, everything super detailed on our website for this particular Mooney M20J for sale. This Mooney M20J, or 201, is a very special aircraft. There is no other aircraft under 200 horsepower that can do what this one can. What makes it a great airplane is a combination of many facts. Its speed, high ceiling, fuel efficiency, low maintenance cost, reliable landing gear, strong and safe design, glide radius, and stable flight characteristics. The Mooney built excellent aircraft, but their marketing was lacking, which means that these became hidden gems. When you own or fly one, you will love it. The Mooney M20J was in production from 1977 until 1979. There were 1,634 J models produced. Some people say that the Mooney 201 is a difficult plane to land, so I want to explain that a little bit. This airplane just wants to fly, so when you're on approach and landing, there are a few things to follow so it does what you want it to do. In the flight portion, we're going to show you how to land the Mooney M20J. It's not difficult. Some of the advantages of having a Mooney: it's fast, so you can get to your destination sooner. Because of the speeds, you can beat the weather. With ceiling of 18,400 feet, you can fly above any weather or any mountains. With the low fuel burn, you save tens of thousands of dollars. And with the low maintenance cost and low operating cost, it's not hard on the budget either. Just looking at this Mooney, it is one of the most unique, beautiful, and sleek designs. It just looks like it wants to fly. When you own an airplane, for most people, it's not just transportation. It's our pride as well. So for me, a beautiful looking airplane is really important. This airplane has been professionally repainted. It's really shiny and looks gorgeous. A complete strip and paint job like this would easily cost $15,000 to $18,000. Aircraft design legend Roy Lopresti made changes to the M20F airframe, and two of the most noticeable changes are the cowling change and a sloped windshield. The one-piece wing design makes this Mooney M20J one of the strongest airplanes. I've never heard of any airframe failures in a Mooney M20J. Here's a photo that's an illustration. These people weigh just a fraction of the G-force that these wings can take. It also shows just how strong the landing gear is to hold the weight. In aircraft designs, to achieve speed, you either put a bigger, more powerful engine that burns more fuel or makes the airframe a little unstable by making smaller wings with a higher wing load. The Mooney 201 did not compromise anything to achieve this speed. Its large wings, but with the low wing loading of the plane, give you great slow flight characteristics. Most airplanes use cables and pulleys to control the ailerons, rudder, and elevator, but a Mooney uses rods and joints. They're much stronger and also require less deflection.
What I really wanted to show you was all of these tubes that go here are going all the way back to the control surfaces. This is something that is fairly unique to the Mooneys. Most of them use cables, but these are actually called push-pull rods, and they control all of the surfaces. They are stronger, lighter weight, and overall a really nice design.
So this plane is ADS-B out compliant, so that means you can fly above 10,000 MSL into Charlie and Bravo airspaces. It has an advanced engine monitor, which gives you lots of parameters and helps you keep your engine running strong, helps if you need to do any kind of troubleshooting. There's also a panel-mounted iPad on this, in the panel on this plane. It is data capable, and it's connected to a WAAS GPS source, so that gives you your in-flight traffic and weather, as well as with the synthetic vision that's coupled to it, means that say you were to have an in-flight electric failure, you could actually fly and land this plane even at night using that synthetic vision. Taking a look at the paint on this, you can see it is in beautiful condition. It's super shiny. A paint job like this is professionally stripped and repainted, easily costs $15,000 to $18,000. And overall, you can see that it's in really good condition still. A few minor chips here and there throughout, but nothing significant at all. If you take a look at the design of it, it's a very sleek design, updated from the F model, and it's got a few extras on this one too, including this ram air intake down here. This is a really good design because when you're up at the higher altitudes, you can open that, you'll get a couple extra inches of manifold pressure, which is what lets you take this up to flight levels. Taking a look at the design of this wing. So in the newer planes and planes like the Cirrus, they have a split wing design. And the reason for that is that it will stall from the inside first, which means that with your ailerons on the outer end, you maintain your aileron control during a stall. And for this Mooney, what it has is it has this stall strip here. The stall brake actually will have in effect the same thing, meaning that you're going to stall from the inside, means that your outer wing with your aileron controls are still going to be effective, so that you can recover from a stall. Just to kind of round it out here, you've got your stall warning right here, as well as a heated pitot tube down over here. Okay, so we're going to show a couple other things here. So we've got the cowl flap openings here, and those are adjustable, obviously, from inside to multiple levels. Helps you manage your engine temperatures while you're in flight. Very important thing to have. You can see here we've got air intake, and this is on both sides. This is open all the time, and then there's also a third air intake up on top that you can open and close to help manage your inside cabin air. With that top one open, it gets super cool in the summer, so really nice to have, but you can close it off in the winter, which means that you don't have to worry so much about the temperatures when it's cooler outside. When we're going over to the wing here a little bit, we have the fuel bladder STC, and if I can get this one open here, I'm going to show you that it actually, you can see the rubber inside of there. So these have the fuel bladders. You don't have to worry about the wet wing design where the seals start to degrade over time and you start to develop leaks. Those bladders believe cost over $10,000 to install, so it's nice to have those already in there. You don't have to worry about them. The M20J is the fastest certified 200 horsepower aircraft and is actually faster than some high performance planes. They do that without compromising the efficiency, the flying characteristics, or payload. Another thing about the plane is that it has a solid one-piece wing design and a steel roll cage, which makes it much safer if you were to get in an accident, and has saved many pilots over the years. So one of the things about this plane is not only is it comfortable for long family cross-country flights with the 4 seats in it, but you can also kind of get your inner fighter pilot urges and be able to fly maneuvers with it. We've had this actually on multiple cross countries of over 2,000 miles, and we just like how efficient it is and how comfortable and smooth it is for those longer distance flights. Go down and take a look at the landing gear here. You can see there's a few different things about this. One is that they are a disc style gear, so much less maintenance. They don't have those normal, especially on the front one, the shocks. Other thing is too is how this is designed. It is actually only takes a few seconds to either retract it or extend the landing gear. That means that obviously whenever your landing gear is extended, you're losing quite a bit of airspeed with the wind drag. So being able to lift it up right away as soon as you take off means that you're reducing that wind drag right away. It only takes just a few seconds to put up, and then if you needed to re-extend it for some reason, it's just a few seconds to drop it back down again right away. Another thing too with that drag is that they basically act as speed brakes. So when you're flying and you're doing an approach, you can extend these out, and means that you can drop your speed down significantly just by extending your landing gear, which is important in this because this is quite a fast plane. We take a look at the back end here. We can see you've got your rudder and your elevator, obviously. One of the differences here is you can see there's no trim tab for the elevator. So the design on this one is actually that it's got a pivot up here. So this entire section will move when you do your elevator trim. You can see just how clean it is, how the control surfaces are clean. We don't have hail damage, dents, dings, anything like that. The paint condition is really shiny. Taking a look at the engine on this Mooney 201, it is an IO 360 that is a horizontally opposed 4-cylinder, fuel injected, which means you don't have to worry about carb icing, and more fuel efficient that way. This particular motor is clean, very nice condition, very minor oil seep down on the oil pan, never given us any troubles. It's been like that since we've had it. It had about 600 hours ago a Penyan overhaul. The crank was fine, so they did not do anything with that, therefore it didn't qualify as a major overhaul, but everything came out clean on that one. There is an extended TBO on these engines. The main thing is, though, with the engine monitor, if you maintain it, if you run it right and keep the temps down and everything like that, you will go well beyond the TBO. You could easily get 3,000 hours or more. These are used in multiple other types of airplanes, including like the Cessna Cardinal RG. There's great compressions on it when we did the annual, and we've always done oil analysis when we do our oil changes. We use CamGuard additive in our oil changes, and the oil reports always came back clean. On our engine monitor, the gauge indicates that we are getting cooler engine temps than you would have on similar aircraft that run this particular motor. The main thing is that using that engine monitor, if you precisely manage your engine, you can make sure that you have a long, healthy life to it, and that you are maintaining the right temperatures when you're in flight, and you can watch and you can troubleshoot if there's anything minor that comes up on them. Just working our way down, I'm just going to point out a few things. I apologize for the high wind here today, so hopefully you can hear me. But we've got static airports on the side back here. Your antennas, obviously. The step for getting in and out makes it really easy to climb up. When we open this here, this is for the storage, which has a lock on it so you don't have to worry about it coming down on your head. Plenty of space down here for storage when you're carrying stuff. You've got straps so that you can strap everything in down here. You've also got a shelf back here for a little bit of lighter weight components that you're taking along. You've got your placards down there for your airworthiness certificate and everything like that. Not that you need it, because it does have an almost brand new battery, less than a year old, but it does have the clips already plugged into the battery. So all you have to do is, it comes with a battery maintainer, you plug it in here and you can set it on your battery maintainer for the winter. Again, almost brand new batteries, so nothing that you have to worry about, but if you like to do that for peace of mind. When this is closed, you've got a nice handle, easy to climb up and get up in here. You've got the grips on here for making it safe to climb up and in. Really easy, wide open door for getting in and out. Nice lock on there so that the door stays in place. It's easy to just climb in, sit down. Little handle for letting yourself in and be able to get into the plane. Slide over to the left-hand seat if you're the pilot, hop into the back if you're passengers, and take off. So I'm going to walk you across the panel here and just kind of point out some different stuff. So obviously, right in front of the left seat, you've got your main 6-pack gauges. You also have 2 VORs set up here with the nav1 and nav2 connection. Take a look, you've got across the bottom here all of your lights and switches, your boost pump. And then in the middle here, we've got our gear selector as well as our indicator, so it's got the gear down and everything in that section. This is the JPI engine monitor. So this one has your manifold pressure, your RPM. It also gives you your fuel quantity, voltage, oil pressure and temperature, things like that. It shows here each of your cylinder head temperatures as well as exhaust gas temperatures. So that's very handy to have, because you can look at this without having to jump over here to the corner, which is where your factory RPM, manifold pressure, and fuel pressure are located. So the center, obviously, we've got your radios and your transponder, and it does have dual radios, IFR certified. Obviously your suction there. So this is the iPad. It is data capable and connected to WAS GPS source. It's plugged in, so it's going to always have power. You're able to do all your flight planning and everything, even on your computer at home, and then be able to just hop in and load it up here on the iPad. This is removable if you want to take the iPad home with you, obviously. Otherwise, you're able to do everything, like I said, on your computer and just be able to hop in, load it up on here, and get ready to go. So you don't have to be setting up all your settings here when you get out to your plane. Across the bottom, you can adjust a bunch of different things on here, including your distance and your ground speed and other icons that you might want to display. So it gives you lots of options on having that set up here. Obviously, over in the corner here, we have all of the push-pull type fuses for everything. Your phone jack, power. And then this is for that ram air we were talking about. So the ram air, you can pull that out, open the ram air. When you're at higher altitudes, you get more air coming into the engine, gives you an increase in your manifold pressure. Another thing we've got here is the autopilot. So you've got basic autopilot with the roll and heading indicator connected in here, so that kind of goes in together. We have the flap setting here so you can adjust your flaps up and down. So the flap setting, we've got the indicator or the switch there, and your indicator is actually here. So you've got a separate takeoff setting, and then your up and your down. And then also you've got your trim. So you've got your nose up takeoff trim. It's all labeled, very easy to see, right there in the middle. So you can see it from either direction, either side. And then down here in the bottom, we also have a separate indicator for your gear down. So always important to check that one as well as the one that's in the dash. And then finally, over here is our fuel selector, so you can switch your left and right tanks for your fuel. And then in case if you ever needed it, emergency gear extension handle is right there as well. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to get set up for the starting here. So first thing we want to do is make sure that our tank is to the fuller side on the selector switch there. Then we're going to turn on our master, move the mixture to full rich, have our boost pump on. We're pumping the throttle 3 times, and then we're going to go ahead and crank it. Once it catches, we adjust the throttle a little bit. Alright, since the engine is warm, we're going to go ahead and take this opportunity to show you a hot start procedure. So the difference here is that you keep the prop up, your throttle goes to 1/4 inch, and your mixture is supposed to stay at the idle cutoff where you were at to shut it down. Then when you turn the master switch on and you put your boost pump on, you let that go for about 3 seconds, then you start cranking, and once it catches, you go ahead and enrich in the mixture. Simple as that. We're going to get ready to do our run up here. So I've got the POH out, and we're going to make sure we've got the brakes set. We're doing a control check to make sure that they're free and clear movements on all of the controls. We've got our radio master on obviously already. Did our instrument check. Our strobe light is on. Then we want to make sure our trim is set for takeoff, which is down there along the bottom. It's a little bit hard to see from just the light, but that is set for takeoff trim. So on this one, the throttle needs to be around 1900 to 2000 RPM, a little bit higher than on some of the other aircraft out there. So to set the throttle up to about 1900 RPM and do the mag check. And we can test that both off of here and also looking at the JPI, the engine monitor. He had just pushed the mixture in from the taxi lean out. So getting the engine monitor there up to, let's see if you see that there, it's currently at about 1850. When we swing over here, you can see it's pushing up to about 1900 now. So we're going to do our magneto check one at a time.
Right.
That was the right hand side, and then now we're going to do the left.
Left.
And back to both again. We'll check our prop also, seeing that the RPM drops. And also that the oil pressure drops, and that's really nice and easy to see up here with the oil pressure gauge right at the top of the engine monitor. You've got your suction gauge in the middle, so you can make sure that that's working as it should. Fergus Falls traffic, Mooney 1 Romeo Zulu, ready for departure, runway 31, will be eastbound departure, Fergus Falls. We'll do a no flap departure, takeoff. with the higher gusting winds, and it's a longer runway, so we don't need the flaps. And as we get lined up to the center line, then we'll be putting the boost pump on right before we do our departure here.
Ready?
Yep, doors are locked, everything's good. Liftoff is at 72. And we want to climb at about 83 miles an hour. You can see the gear there. We make sure that we're watching it until it's fully up, and after about 500 feet of altitude gain, then we can shut off the boost pump. So we're getting stabilized and into a cruise configuration. Right now, we are going to fly a little bit lower just due to the more unstable air at higher altitudes, so gusting winds and things like that. One of the most fuel efficient settings on this, regardless of altitude or the outside air temperature, is to have the power at full throttle and 2,500 RPM, and then you lean the mixture to 50 degrees rich of peak and with the cowl flaps closed. Well, you can see with our settings right now, we are running at a manifold pressure of about 25.8. RPM is about 25 as well. And you can see that our engine temps are in the low 300s, so those are well within range. Actually, it's up to 164 knots ground speed right now. So you can see that you can really get this going fast if you have the right power settings for it. Have the settings pulled back here at manifold pressure of 24, RPM is at 23. We've leaned out, and you can see that our ground speed is still 128 knots. It's smoother and a little bit calmer flying, but still gets you where you need to go in a fairly decent amount of time. Our fuel burn right now, if you can see that on here, is only at 5.8 gallons per hour, which is even less than what you can get in most 172s. But your ground speed is well above what you would expect to get from one of those planes. So you can see just how versatile this plane is for all different types of settings. I'm going to do the turbulence layer on the map and adjust it down here since we're further down. It's getting quite bumpy, so we want to check and see what the turbulence is looking like. You can see that there's turbulence throughout the entire area here. You've got options for both US and ADS-B, slightly different colorations and information available on there. You can see at 4,000 feet there's turbulence. At 2,000 it's a little bit less turbulent. Synthetic vision, you can see that it splits the screen. You've got basically a little glass cockpit layout on here. It shows your compass heading, your ground speed, your altitude, and also your vertical speed in here. So you can watch all of your different settings, and it'll show up on here if you are at lower altitudes, or if you have mountains, it'll show yellow and red in this area of the screen so that you can see that too when you're flying. If you are getting too close to towers or terrain or anything like that, the synthetic vision is really useful for that as a feature as well. The wind is gusting from 13 to 19 knots, and is at 280 when the runway here is 31. So we do have a fairly heavy crosswind with the additional component of gusting. So we are going to go ahead and get lined up for the landing here. We're going to manage our power. We have our gear down and checked. Manage our descent. Always appreciate if you like our videos and subscribe to our channel. It makes what we do that much more enjoyable. And of course, if you have any comments or suggestions, questions, please put them down below, and we always take time to read them and review and respond to it whoever we can. And of course, this particular plane is going to be for sale, so we're going to have a link to that down in the description below. So if you're interested, you can take a look at that. We've got information, logbooks, everything super detailed on our website for this particular Mooney M20J for sale.